Hey guys, Joe Tech here from Joe Tech Tips, and today we're going to show you how to program or configure the Cisco RV325 router. Now, what's going to be interesting is that I'm going to be using a Surface Pro 4. Now, to communicate with the router, you need to have an RJ45 connection. Now, a lot of people are familiar, or some people are familiar, that the Surface Pro does not have an RJ45 connection on it. It does not. So what I'm going to be using is a USB 3.0 to an RJ45 connection. And this is made by Coboc, C-O-B-O-C. So it's Gigabit, and this is what we're going to use to configure the Cisco router using the Surface Pro 4. Now, the Surface Pro 4 also has a mini output for HDMI. So they have an HDMI port on the side here, and we're going to use this cable, which goes to an HDMI full size. So I'm able to connect that to my Elgato. So you're able to see this on the screen. So that's the whole setup here. So I'm going to be able to, so you're going to see the capture of my Surface Pro 4 through the Elgato, and then using this converter. So I wanted to tell you about that first. I'll have all these parts and everything in the description below if you're looking for something such as this. And the Surface Pro 4 mini HDMI to full HDMI connector, so you could, cable rather, so you could do what I'm trying to do. You can either go to a television or a monitor, HDMI monitor, which is great. So I love my Surface Pro 4. It's my baby. I purchased it for school only. I went back to college, so that's the only reason why I'm doing that. So I need something nice and small and compact, and this baby does the trick. All right, so let's get to configuring the Cisco RV325 router. Hey guys, now we're going to get going on the configuration of the Cisco RV325 router. Now, I already disconnected my Wi-Fi on my Surface Pro 4, and now we have network connectivity to the switch / router. Now what I did was I just went to the command prompt to verify that I have an IP address, and I do. 192.168.1.100. The router IP address is 192.168.1.1. So that is good. So now we can simply go there, 192. Now remember, this is a brand new router. This has never been configured, so you're going to see it right from scratch. You want to go advanced, you want to add an exception. Now by default, this should be Cisco. And it's going to, okay, now it's going to ask us for the old password, which is Cisco, and it's going to ask us for the new one. I like to make it very complex. Okay. Password complex. You want to leave all this stuff enabled. We hit save. So now the new password is done. So now we log in with that new information we just created. Okay, we're in. So now at this point, setting up the IP address is relatively straightforward. If you look through this interface, it's got the same colors as the Linksys router, the same color scheme, but nowhere near the features that anything will have. This is like really, really nice. VPN will be here, and all the tunnels will be listed here. Gateway to gateway tunnels, setting up new one. This is really, really powerful. But right now we just want to set up the IP address. We want to set up the network connectivity for, as you can see, there is quite a few options here. You got the multiple subnet table. We're going to ignore that for now because these are VLAN 1, 25, 100. These are here by default, but we're going to change the IP address of the router because we don't want it to be I'm modifying my client's IP address, so it's actually going to be, this is going to be 8.1 instead of 1.1. I already have a client that's already on 1.1, and it's going to clash with the VPN tunnel that I have, the gateway to gateway VPN tunnel. So all my clients, they just constantly, I just changed that IP, that octet in the IP to something different than a 1. I could definitely go to a 172.16.x.x, but I choose to stick with the 192.168.x.x IP schema. This way it's easier to manage this way, so I know which client is on which. So this is what we're going to do first, and we're going to lose connectivity to the router, and then because eventually I'm thinking about, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the DHCP server on. I mean, for configuring I'm going to leave it on, but for the future I may be setting up the server to do DHCP. And this is not going to do anything. So the server is going to take care of all the IP addresses, which is an option I'm thinking of. I haven't decided if I'm going to split the scope up. So you have this one do, say, 20 addresses and the server do the remainder, just in case one of these go down. The server takes a dive and they need to get on the internet, they can still use this, you know, as it's just like a backup. That's pretty much why I'm considering it. So anyway, we need to change this as it automatically did. So we're going to hit save, and then we're going to lose connectivity to it. So let's hit save. And it says changing the IP may cause the loss of connection. Yes, we know that. I just said that. Do I want to continue? Yes. So let's see. So in theory, we should be offline. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the command prompt. And you'll notice we'll still have that, so we want to release this and then renew, and we should get a .8.x IP address, and we do. There we go. 192.168.8.100, and now we're back to normal again. So now we go back up here. 8.1 advanced, add the exception, confirm, log back in again. Okay, so we're doing it. So we're doing everything is going well. So the next thing we need to do is set up the IP address. So what we do is we go set up WAN 1, hit edit. Now since I know what the IP address is, this is not going to be getting an IP address automatically like Optimum if you're a homeowner, or Cablevision, whatever cable service you have, Time Warner, Quest, whatever it is. There's people all over the world. Not sure, you know, what kind of provider you have, but if you have something that gives you a dynamic IP, you'll leave it the way it is, and it'll just work as you plug it in. majority of people leave their IP schema at 192.168.1.1. So if you have printers on the network that are already static IP, then changing the IP address would be a pain in the neck, because you have to change all the IP addresses for all the devices that are static. So that could be a pain in the neck in of itself. So some people don't do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to be doing a static IP. Since I have all this information, I'm pre-configuring it for the client. It makes it a lot easier for myself to have this ready to go, because I'm also going to be configuring their Ubiquity access point as well. So let's do that now. This is the DNS. I choose a different one. And the trusty backup of Optimum. Okay, so now we have our static. Now this one we can actually configure to be a DMZ. We can hit enable DMZ, which will mean, if you know what DMZ stands for, demilitarized zone, which is very similar to military terms. It's the same concept. And what that does is moves one IP address on your network to be out so the real world can see it. Could be a TeamSpeak server. You want that out there if you're interested in doing that kind of connectivity. So you don't have to open up ports. Everything is open. It's outside. You don't care. Hopefully nobody will try to hack into it, because if it's out there, somebody will do it. So it's just an option. So you have that option of having a DMZ. Then you can see a USB 1 and USB 2. These are, like I said before, like a cell phone service as a backup for your WAN. So in other words, if your WAN goes offline, you can use a 3G, 4G dongle to get you going. So, and then you have options here, which is, it's really, I mean, I haven't done it, but it's quite simple. You got all the information that you get from your provider, stick it here, and you're good to go. Really pretty straightforward. All right, so we're pretty much golden in terms of how this is set up. So now if you needed additional ports and stuff open, like if you needed to do, like here's the DMZ, you type in the IP address. Obviously it's not that one because we changed it. Port forwarding, port address translation, one-to-one NAT, MAC address cloning. You can actually edit, change the MAC address that you want. Say for argument's sake, you already have an IP address that's been dynamically signed. You can use the MAC address of another item, another device, your previous router for that meaning, and you can enter in that MAC address here. That's helpful. So you'll get, because the providers that give you IP dynamically is based off of your MAC address of your hardware device. So if you wanted to keep that address, if you're having like dynamic DNS or something like that, and you just want to keep that IP address the same, you didn't want it to change for some reason, you can simply put the MAC address here and you're good to go. You'll have the same IP address, which is helpful. Here, like dynamic DNS, I use this on my system. I use no IP. I pay for it and it's great. And you can have the router do it versus having a client on a PC, which is huge. So you don't need a computer running this client system, client software. You just have the router take care of it, and it works really, really well. If advanced routing, I'm not going to go too deep into any of this stuff. Here we go. USB device. If you're going to update your firmware, you can use a USB. And here's DHCP. So now we'll get to the meat and potatoes. So the meat and potatoes. So what we can do is we can assign the DNS entries here. like for argument's sake, so if this gives out an IP address, you want the DNS server to give, you want this router to give the DNS information to the workstation. So this is going to be where I'm setting up a domain controller, and I want this to be their, the first one's going to be the server, and that's the IP address that I'm going to choose for it. And so that's the DNS server as well. So it's Active Directory DNS. So when the system gets their IP addresses from the system, they want it needs to have this address first, because this is also the authentication server. So if you have a wrong DNS entry in this, it will never work. And we'll just have a backup just in case. TFTP, we don't use TFTP in this situation. Let's hit save. So I may do changes down the line. I may not keep this. I may keep it. I'm not 100% sure. But as of right now, I may keep it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change their scope, though. We're going to make this 50 to 200. All right. Forgot about that. You have VPN. We'll get back to that shortly. So there is a point-to-point tunneling protocol server on here, which is extremely insecure but still works. So we need to change the location of these IP addresses. That's why it conflicted. That's why I gave that error message. So we need to go into here, and we're going to throw this a little higher. So if we decide to, use this, it'll be out of the range of any IP addresses that we're going to give it scope for. So we'll leave it like that. That'll be perfect. So now we go back to setup. DHCP, and we'll change this to, like I said, 50, and anything below 50. They're going to be static IPs, if anything, and anything in DHCP, so that'll work. So now we're rocking and rolling with this. So now this is pretty much set up. Any additional options we need to do, like say, so we go to the firewall and access rules. So we're going to need to have, we're going to add, we want DNS to go through, so that's port 53. So we want that to come in and out all the time, because the server is going to be doing DNS. And it'll be, I mean, I was going to do any, but technically it just needs to go to the server, because remember, to eliminate traffic on the network as much as possible, you want everything to go to the local server, and the server goes out and grabs the information. This is how it's done when you have a large network and you have a server that's going to take care of that. So you go 192.168.8.225. So we hit save. Hit no to this because we're not going to add another rule. Now we go into, so now we go back into setup. Forwarding. So now we have the rule for DNS to port forward to 225. You need to do that. Let's see. And that's pretty much it in terms of this. There are a lot more options here that you probably know what to do with. Here we can do content filtering. This is pretty cool. So if you wanted to keep this place clean, you can put all the bad words in here, or any porn, or any, like, say for argument's sake, you wanted this, that you don't want this place to go to, I don't know, any porn site you can think of, whatever, or Facebook for that matter. If you don't want to go www.facebook, like this, you hit add, and now this address is in here. You don't want them to go to AOL, and you hit save. So now they can never, this will be blocked. So it'll be forbidden domains. This is very helpful. You can go to town with this. There's quite a few, and then you have to check off enable hidden forbidden domains. And then this is great. And then, or if you only allow them to go to certain websites, you only say accepted allowed domains, and you put all the good ones in here. So you have, you know, blocked domains and good domains. So it's very, very helpful. This is a very powerful router. I mean, you could probably see it. There's so much stuff. Then you have logging, which is great. You can enable SMS if you have SMS capability. This will probably done if you have that USB dongle, and then you're able to send text messages right from the device, which would be helpful. You can log all types of error messages that come over, like which I like to do is SYN flooding, IP spoofing, unauthorized login attempts, which is huge. Win nuke, ping at death, which is helpful. Not really authorized logins. Shouldn't be many of those unless we're using VPN or SSL VPN for that matter. IPsec VPN tunnel, USB. We'll do that in case somebody's screwing around, and the network. Hit save. So now we can view the system log right here, and it'll give me all the information. There's nothing here because it's a brand new router. So this is a very powerful. I'll have a link in the description on how to purchase this. The prices range all over the place. I'm not sure how inexpensive it is on Amazon, but this is definitely something definitely should be considered for your home. If you really want to, you know, spice up your network and get some high performance gear in there. This is all gigabit, and it's really, really fast. You'll achieve the absolute throughput. You know what? Let me just go through here. It also does OpenVPN, which is great. If you ever wanted to set up OpenVPN server on here, and this is, you can download the software for your phone, your iPad, your PC, and then you can connect right to this, which is a home run. Or you can go from device to device. You have another RV325 on one end, on this end, and then you can configure. That's a whole nother video because that's pretty complicated. I did want to show you something else that's interesting. Just gotta find it. And also you can set up bandwidth management. This is one of the things that you'll need to change. So you definitely want to make this, crank this up all the way. Because if you have a fast Ethernet, like quick, you know, gigabit, you never know. You could have that at the building or at your home. Some people, you know, with Verizon now you can get a gigabit. So if you don't change the performance here, you're gonna like, why am I not getting the performance? And that is why. So you want to be able to change that. It also does simple network management protocol, which is good. Like a lot of printers and stuff like that offers the latest and greatest is version 3. All Cisco products offer this version. It also is backward compatible with this, and you could monitor with a program that you can download. I don't recall what it is, but it's a SNMP Manager, and you can manage all the SNMP traffic that's on your network. It takes very, very little bandwidth. You don't have to worry about that. SNMP, this is mail. So if you want to set up mail, sending you information and updates about your router and the setup, which I will be doing for myself and for this client. Here we go. Port management. So this is the fun location. If you wanted to disable and enable these devices, if you don't want anybody plugging in someplace on the network, you can simply disable a particular port on the switch, and you can make certain ones higher priority than others. Like if there's traffic on, like say if you ran an Exchange server on here, and you wanted LAN 1 to take higher priority than all other traffic, then you would set that to high priority, and then you could change the negotiations of the port itself. Normally, everybody leaves it out auto negotiating because that'll be gigabit. But if you manually change it, it's not gigabit, just so you know. And we have port status, let you know what's enabled, what's not. So in other words, I am plugged into port 2, LAN port 2 on the switch, and it shows a gigabit. Full duplex. Full duplex means it's sending and receiving 1 gigabit a second, so that means it's 2 gigabits total. So it's 1 gig one way and 1 gig. So 1 gig going and 1 gigabit coming. So that's how you get the 2 gigabit throughput. Let's see. Traffic status, how much data I've actually sent. There's no errors, so there's no problem with the network. Now, VLAN membership. Now, this is where it gets tricky. If you decide to make any changes, you can add additional VLANs. Say, for argument's sake, you wanted to segregate your Wi-Fi traffic. Like if you set up a access point and you don't want anybody on your network that has to do with your primary network, you can set up a VLAN here and have a separate network, a separate VLAN that's just for Wi-Fi traffic. But however, the Ubiquiti router, or I'm sorry, the Ubiquiti access point that I'm configuring for them, which will be on this device, will be it'll be segregated already within the device. I can set up that that does not have access to anything else other than there'll be 3 Wi-Fi access, I guess SSIDs, one for people who are actually on the network and need to be to access resources and stuff like that, one for cell phones and stuff like that, and then one for guests. So with the Ubiquiti device, you have that flexibility of setting up 3 separate SSIDs on the same device, and it works out really well. So if you wanted to play around with VLANs, you could do that. However, by default, VLAN 1 is the one that's always used. So VLAN 1 is the primary, and everything is included in VLAN 1 by default. So this is pretty much a very powerful router, as you can clearly see. The wizards are nice. You have basic setup, access rule setup. So if you are unfamiliar the way I went, you could simply just, hit this and then go and follow the rules on what you're looking to do. It's really, really nice. Offers a lot of flexibility and options for the enthusiast, network guy, if you want to call him that, or call yourself that, that's fine if you want. So anyway, but this is an awesome option for you guys. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And also, something new, please share. I've never said that before, but please share this video to everybody that you think would be interested in this. Take care.